Morning, fish keepers. Cam here from thefishroom.co.nz, and we've done it. Believe it or not, it is Friday. I know we're in that crazy week between Christmas and New Year's, and no one knows what on earth is going on, but we do know it's Friday. We know it's Friday because we've got coffee. Let's celebrate with it. That's terrible. That's not very nice. That's not a coffee I'm going to enjoy. I've got a little bit of admin today. Today's going to be the last time I show this book because clearly in 2 days' time it's the new year. We've also got John kicking about. Good morning, John. After evening, John.
Morning.
How you doing?
Not too bad. Yourself?
Good.
Yes.
So I just thought we could just talk about fish or random stuff and see how we go for the rest of the time.
I'm always up for talking about fish.
Cool. So I've just got a little bit of admin to run through. It's not a heck of a lot. Just want to clarify the hours that we're working at the moment with people. So we'll be fully open on the 14th. Sorry, the 14th on the 4th of January, which is next Wednesday. So Monday, Tuesday, we will be completely closed. There's no real point in me coming down for packing orders for the couriers and like that because they're not running. I'll be down and feeding the fish and stuff like that. And this afternoon, I'll be down packing orders, waiting for the courier to pick up as well. I did originally say I'd sort of be here from 2 o'clock to 4:30 most days. But that hasn't really happened. My young fella's been a bit sick, so I skipped yesterday and having kind of limited hours. So don't want anyone to kind of turn up and not being here. So essentially, we're not open again until Wednesday. Although I will be here this afternoon. So if you catch me, you catch me. If you don't, you don't. And then moving in through next year, New Year's is pretty slow, and it's easy enough and enjoyable and relaxing to spend time with the kids. So, so moving next year, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday will be our normal hours, and then come Monday, the 9th, we'll be trading like normal Monday to Friday, and then I think on the start of February we'll be open on the Saturday mornings, and that's how the plan's going to work. And then from the 9th, we'll be sending livestock, frozen foods, live bugs, all that kind of stuff out again. So if you've made orders for anything live, fish, plants, frozen food, live food, what have you, that'll be going out on the 9th. Just because the 3-day turnaround with the couriers and they're kind of relatively well backed up from the Christmas rush. I don't want to risk anything. So come that Monday the 9th, all those orders will be moving out the door from then. Something to say?
No. Just
cool. Just another reminder, we've got our Boxing Day New Year's sale going on as well at the moment. So we've got up to 70% off some of the Tour Aquarius range, which is selling really well. Once it's gone, that stuff is gone. We've also got a sale on things like JBL Monado, Aqua Tropical Flakes, Aqua heaters. There's a lot of the Sierra range. They've got 25% off from memory. There's this range has got 20% off, including the blenders, which are an incredibly good product. Got a couple of them running in the shop. Absolutely love them, and from the reviews and the conversations I've had with people, everybody's been really happy with them. Plico Ceramic's got some 20% off as well, and there's a few other bits and pieces. So if you jump on the website, thefishroom.co.nz, and look on the Boxing Day sale tab, you'll find everything we've got on sale. There's quite large sale, which is always handy. And the new fish that came in a couple of weeks ago are pretty much good to go. They'll be good to go when we open up the shop on Wednesday. So I might spend this morning or this afternoon putting them on the website ready to go. Obviously, they won't be able to be sent until the week after. So the Ottos are all looking fantastic. Honeygrams and great. There is a huge amount of angelfish varieties coming through as well. They're all looking really good. The gold rams are looking nice and chunky. There's green fire tetras. Green neons, which are amazing. Gold barbs, which are looking stunning as well. Plenty of bedders, males, females, of short fin varieties. Plenty of them hanging around as well. Very nice looking fish. Plenty of cardinal tetras, lemon tetras, and flammes. So there's a decent variety of things coming through. They're all looking really healthy. The dwarf chain loaches will be held back for at least a few more weeks because they're a little bit thin when they came in, and the red coral platies I'm still having issues with, but everything else has come through really nicely. So there's some nice fish coming through. So like I said, I might spend a bit of time today, or maybe on Monday or Tuesday, loading everything up on the website because there are some very, very nice fish coming through. And the beta wrap that we put in last week is almost good to go. Had the electrician come in on Wednesday, put a whole bunch of plugs there so we can plug all the filters in, the lights and whatnot. All the aquariums I have now painted. I probably need to put another layer of paint on them this afternoon, so that'll be 4 coats. And I think that kind of covers it quite nicely. Oh, I think, yeah, so that should cover them quite nicely. And then I just got to work out things like substrates and what plants and stuff like that. I think it's probably a really good opportunity to, because I like crypts, grow a crypt in every tank just to show people what they look like when they come in immersed and what they look like when they're submersed. But we'll sort of see how that goes. Also a good opportunity for me to play around with some botanicals in one tank and some rocks and some wood and that kind of stuff. So I just need to make a decision on what filtration I'm going to use, if I use the ones that come with the tanks or if I upgrade it to something slightly bigger. So we'll just see how that goes. But we're going to plan that'll be up and running very, very soon. Water in it, water being filtered, sorry. And bedders going in there. So, should only be a couple of weeks and we're good to rock and roll. That is all the admin that I've got. So, pretty keen to have a wee chit-chat about aquariums. You're not the first person that said it's got a ZZ Top 5 about it. My dad said exactly the same thing when I walked in the door after my kids were freaked out. Starbucks. There's no Starbucks in Nelson.
Seriously?
Yeah, they shut it down.
Oh, that sucks.
Not really, because it's horrible.
Bill, I'll let you know.
Oh, got to be rum tipple instead of Starbucks.
It's just orange juice.
All right.
It's too late at night for Starbucks or any kind of coffee.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so that's it. That's the admin done. We can sit and talk about fish if anyone wants that, or how everyone's Christmas went and all that sort of stuff. We're pretty open book. Don't have to open the shop today, so if we happen to run over an hour, so be it. If we only run for 12 minutes, so be it as well. I'm pretty open.
Okay. I want to know if anybody got any fish-related presents.
That's a good question.
Like something for their fish, but I want to know if they got something fish-related, like those plushies I had last week, or a T-shirt, or just something merchandise-wise. Yeah. Yeah.
I did see someone post a art print that they got for Christmas. It was the fish of New Zealand, and it was things like chocolate fish and pavlova sort of thing. So it wasn't fish, but it was fish-y, if that makes sense. I've seen it advertised on Facebook. Actually, someone tagged me and shared it to me on Facebook about 6 months ago, and I thought it was really, really cool. The artist kind of just incorporates Kiwiana into things like that. So, that was pretty cool.
That's cool. I got this. I don't know if you can see it. It's I don't want to turn it upside down. Somebody opened the box upside down, but it's a bonsai tree.
Neat.
Lego set.
Yeah.
So it's not fish related, but it's very similar. It's
cool.
Within that
nice one.
aquascaping vibe. So I'm looking forward to getting stuck on that.
For the record, I hate Lego. I've built more Lego in the last 3 days than I have in my entire life, and I hate it.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
I
know that feeling. My son, we got a doubler, so I've got a Lego that needs to go back to the shop, but we must have spent, I don't know, maybe £200 on Lego in the last couple of weeks. It's horrendous.
Yeah.
It's not my favourite pastime at all. And luckily, my son's a lot older now and he does it all himself.
Nice. I did read about the pale snapper that they were catching up north, and from what I understood from reading between the lines, it was something to do with them either recently spawning or about to spawn or something along those lines, changes the colour of the flesh or something like that. I did see an article about it. Apparently, it's not a new phenomenon. It's something that's been happening for a very, very long time. So it's just that they happen to catch them at this time. But yeah, according to a lot of the old boy fishermen, it's been going on for a lot of time. It's just a particular time of year that they they catch the fish, and the flesh changes a different color from the clear color to the milky white color.
Is this some native fish you're talking about?
I don't think snappers are native. They're seawater fish. They're a sport fish and a table fish. They're pretty commonly caught around New Zealand. Most people that go fishing seem to want to catch big snappers. They look a lot like Geophagus. It's not the Geoparis. Similar to the Geoparis, but slightly different. Completely eluded me. I haven't had them for a long time. But yeah, very similar to the Geophagus, the long, sparkly ones with the big, long trailing fins.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Sunamensis, whatever it might be.
I'm not sure. I know the ones you're talking about, though.
Yeah.
Slightly longer nose as well.
Yeah. So, yeah, when I had them, a lot of people would comment that they look a lot like snappers, which they did. So, yeah. How are your cories going, Shelley? Are they still reproducing? Are they growing out nicely, or are they just suffering because it's Christmas time and everyone suffers at Christmas? I want to know what koi Lego is. I have koi Lego.
Koi Lego?
Yeah. Is that like koi fish Lego? Or something slightly different, or am I misreading that?
Maybe it's just like Lego that you just like to look at, like koi. You just stand and look at the pond. You don't really.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I agree, though.
Yeah, can't tell us about it.
I also don't get Lego. I can absolutely appreciate someone that's put a lot of time into building all those Lego sets. Like a friend of mine was right into that, and his room was covered in these, particularly the Star Wars ones that he made. Yeah. And it looks very, very cool. But I can't be bothered. It's not for me. And then, the ones that I make up for my children, they'll break them, and then if you can't find the instructions to put them back again, it just becomes a big pile of Lego.
Yeah, my son, he's 17 now, but he's got shelves up on his walls, and they're filled with Lego sets. But nice. I mean, he's autistic, so once he sets it up, he doesn't touch it; it just stays there.
That's his thing.
Yeah, pretty good by me, because that means I can't get near it and I can't break it. But he's got the coolest one that he had was the upside down from the Stranger Things show. So it was the house, and it was mirrored but upside down as well. It was really quite cool. Yeah.
We went to a Lego show maybe a month ago, 6 weeks ago. That was really cool, seeing some of the stuff that people have done. Like, there's phenomenal talent, time, energy, money into it. It's a proper intense hobby, I'm sure, once you get into it. Kind of like fish keeping. You can dip your toe in and get nowhere, or you can really go to town on it, just like any hobby. But yeah, not for me. Yeah. I got a wee shave while I was in jail. Had to be tidied up.
Well, yeah. What was it you got put in jail for, Cam?
I have no idea, man.
No idea. No feedback or anything.
No. So, full disclosure, it's not the first time we've been banned on Facebook. Not the first time we've been put in jail. It probably won't be the last time. The last 2 times have been total misreads by the Facebook bots. The first time, someone tagged me in a video. I'm sure we've all seen about the young English boy that was complaining to his dad. Then his dad was saying, "You've not been well behaved, and Santa's not going to come, etc., etc." And the little young fella said, "I'm going to punch his beard off," which I thought was hilarious from a little 5-year-old or 6-year-old to say. And so I just replied on that comment, he's going to punch his beard off. And then the next morning I woke up and I'd been banned for extreme violence or something along those lines, which I thought was kind of ridiculous because the video said that.
Yeah.
And then recently I got banned maybe 3 or 4 months ago. I was watching a cricket video and this guy was hitting lots of sixes. And a very common term in cricket when someone's hitting lots of sixes is, they're dropping, I don't even know want to say this word, dropping explosives everywhere.
Right.
Yep. And so again, I woke up the next morning and I was on a ban for inciting hate crimes or war crimes or something along those, a ridiculous reason. So that frustrated me. But both those times they told you why. So I woke up the other morning and basically said, "You're on a Facebook ban." I was like, "Okay, whatever. Let's find out why." And there was no reason. So it was 3 days on Messenger, 2 days on Facebook, and then out of all the woodwork, a couple other friends texted me and said they've got exactly the same thing. Some of their friends had it. I've spoken to a couple of customers that they had it as well. Like there was a lot of people that got the exact same ban at the exact same time. No one has a clue why. So yeah, I don't know if there was a reason behind that one, but yeah,
that's crazy. Well, the next time,
falsely accused, and a good thing I wasn't on death row. We'll put it that way.
So, best behaviour from now on in.
Well, I try and be on my best behaviour. I don't try to talk about cricket things too often, or my beloved Warriors team too often. But yeah, I try and limit the amount of stuff I speak about on Facebook for the obvious reason. Get another 2 or 3 day ban, and it's ridiculously hard to run a business that's based on Facebook. So whether it's rightly or wrongly, whether they've made a mistake or whether it's something that shouldn't have been said, it's still hard to do anything with it. So I just try not to as much as I can now.
Well, the thing is, it's not like, when you do get put in Facebook ban, you're no longer completely locked out of the shop page, because obviously I've got access, and there's ways round. So there was a point where you actually lost contact with your shop altogether, wasn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, that in itself could be quite dangerous when you're running a business.
Oh, very much so. Yeah,
it's unfair.
Yeah, and that was the big learning. It might have been the Santa comment, and it was okay. Well, if this happens again, then we're in a bit of trouble. So we put some things in place. Because I can't have no time for idiots. Yeah, it's a fair call. That's a fair call.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I actually remember another band that I got. The Melbourne Storm, who play in the NRL, are commonly referred to as the Mexicans because they are from south.
Okay.
South of Sydney or something along those lines. And they beat my beloved Warriors, and they had a wee rant. Those damn Mexicans, how dare they beat us? And all of a sudden I had a ban for that as well. So again, just misconstrued stuff, but you learn to slowly. I'm learning to not be an idiot.
So, I know.
Yeah,
it's soul crushing, though, isn't it? Really.
And it's really hard to speak to anyone. Google is exactly the same. They try and automate everything. It's really hard to find contact numbers, emails. By the time you sort it out, it's not normally worth it. I've been struggling trying to find a contact for Google for some fake reviews that have been coming up through our through the Google page. You can report it, but they come back with saying it's not fake, and then it just stays there, and there's no way of getting rid of it, despite the fact it clearly is. It's really hard to do. At one point, when I was working with a marketing company, they had a little bit more knowledge on how to get through, and we managed to get. I think they had their own managers that worked with them, sort of thing. So we had a little bit of leeway there. But I'm not working with any marketing companies at the moment, so it's just flying solo, which makes it quite difficult.
Mm-hmm.
We're in New Zealand. How's the variability of suppliers or even getting species in? So we have to abide by essentially what's a whitelist. Do I have it right here? No, I don't. I actually thought I had one sitting there. So there's a list of species that we're allowed into the country. If it's not on that list, we can't get it in, period. That's not entirely true. If you want to get it in, you can pay an absurdly large amount of money to the government. MPI is what they're called. They go through a whole bunch of tests, make sure it's safe to get here, and it's not guaranteed that they'll allow it in either. And we're talking about a large amount of money per one species. So if it's already in the country, it's okay, but it can't be brought back in. A prime example is Denisoni. There's plenty in the country, but they're not on the list, so they will not be brought back in. Zebra Danios are another one. They're not on the list anymore. They're removed because I think they're still on the list, but they're a high-risk species, so they have to be tested when they come in. It makes them not worth bringing in. So if it's not on our list, then we can't get it in. So we're kind of limited to what we've got here. Goldfish, axolotls, what we've got is what we've got. We can't get koi fish in. which is both a good thing and a bad thing because there's plenty of koi that have taken up residence in some of the local riverways up north, and they've sort of destroyed the waterways. So that's the good thing about it, but the bad thing is there's some very, very nice looking koi, but it is what it is. So we're pretty limited with that. New Zealand legislation is pretty strict when it comes to things like that, and rightly so. Most of our native animals are fairly average, like our native bird can't even fly, which is kind of ridiculous. So we've got nothing pointy, we've got nothing sharp, we've got nothing poisonous, we've got nothing pouchy.
I found that on my work piece, even though I had it.
Yeah. So our native bird can't fly. So all of our wildlife have basically been brought up in a real harmonious way, and there's been no real dramas with anything. So if we get pests in that'll come wipe them out, that's why they're so strict on it, and it makes total sense. And that's a cool thing. It's not, it's a bad thing if you want different and cool animals, but it's a really good thing to protect our wildlife. So I'm all okay with that, in complete honesty. Left to me, this causes inbreeding, slightly breeding out rather than because. Yeah, that's a fair call. There's a lot of inbreeding, and a lot of different fish. I was actually speaking to somebody yesterday about line breeding red dragon bristlenose and super red bristlenose and green dragon bristlenose, and trying to work on a way of getting them, because again, in theory they should be allowed to be bought in, but they're not, from my understanding. And then it comes to a lot of the Anustrus species that aren't on the list or have been crossed or line bred, and who knows what this bristlenose is to another bristlenose. I know that's a really broad topic or broad species, but it kind of muddies the water a lot with a lot of the fish that are hanging about. So in saying that, there is at least one importer that has been bringing in some really nice fish recently that we haven't had for a long time. So they're clearly paying attention to what the hobbyists are wanting, what they're asking. They've brought in a few different species of betta and gouramis, which we haven't seen for a long time. They're available on our list. They find it either come up or they've decided to give it a wee run. So there is some nice stuff coming through, which is really good and really promising and great for the hobby and people that are into that sort of fish. I think the biggest one is celestial Pildanios. They were rife, they were everywhere, then they've been taken off the available list, so they can't be bought in anymore, from my understanding. And we're left with only a handful of people that have got them. And if there's no one spawning them, then we're very surely going to be losing a species of fish in New Zealand, which is a bit of a shame. And yes, it is Brooklands. They have been bringing in some pretty nice fish over the last 6 months or so. So hopefully they continue that, and we get some nice new species coming through we haven't seen for a while, which is really good.
Why were celestial Pildanios taken off the list?
Why? I couldn't answer that. Probably something being put into the high risk category, potential for disease transfer to our native waters or something along those lines. That's normally why they get taken off. Maybe they got reclassified and then that new classification name isn't on our list. It doesn't get changed with it. Right, okay. So something along those lines. I couldn't tell you for exactly why, but yeah. There's also been some very nice corridors coming recently as well, which has been good. Again, hopefully they just keep looking through availables from overseas and what we can get and try some new things. I think it's quite interesting, like the bronze corridor or the albino corridor have always been here. They're the same fish, different paint job. Recently we've had the Venezuelan orange come through, which is exactly the same fish, different thing. And now recently we've had the black corridors come through. So like there's 4 fish under the same name that have been legitimately being brought in, but it's new fish, new varieties coming in, which is really cool.
I like the black ones. I've had them myself.
Oh yeah,
they're really nice.
Yeah, I haven't had the black ones yet. I might pick some up at some point, but I haven't at the moment. They were fairly pricey, and that's what happens when the new fish comes in. But I was going to get some, but I didn't manage to get my order in time, so otherwise I would have. Yeah, and that's fair as well. Anything that has a potential to live and possibly breed in native waters get blacklisted. Again, that's fair. Sometimes you question it. The alto lamps are a really questionable question. The compressus are allowed in, the Calvus aren't allowed in. For all intents and purposes, they are exactly the same fish. But yeah, Calvus can't come in, the comps can. So I also sometimes question whether or not some of these temperatures for breeding or potential breeding is possible, but I don't make the rules. I just have to abide by what I can buy from my wholesalers, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well,
and,
do you know
and yeah.
Have you got
What's
any? Have you got any idea of what's coming in next year? Any new products on the horizon that you've been told your importers are going to be working on, or
fish-wise, nothing that I'm aware of.
Right.
Plant-wise, nothing that I am aware of.
Mm-hmm.
Product-wise, there is an importer bringing in a new line of food that has been here before, then got removed because the old supply didn't keep up with it. So I think they've been working through a few loopholes to try and, not loopholes, a few legal bits to try and get the right contracts in place is probably the better way of putting it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, maybe 6 months or so there'll be some new stuff coming in, which I'm getting pretty excited about. What they're bringing in is it's a good range. It's a really good product. It's one that I have used previously, and as soon as it's here, I'll 100% stock without question.
Okay.
Because I do like it. I've had it previously. I've used to feed it out to my fish as a staple food. I know it's really good. So I'm right behind that once it gets the green light, once it gets landed. So I'm excited about that.
Happy days.
So, yeah. As far as new fish, nothing I'm sure of.
Mm-hmm.
And do I have any breeding projects in the pipeline? Yeah, like I said, I was speaking to someone yesterday about the super red bristlenose and the green dragon bristlenose. So I've got some calico bristlenose that I'm growing out that I was going to breed as calicos. But I might see if I can dig into the genetics of things a little bit more and see if I can look at getting some super reds. There'll be a very, very long-term plan. I wouldn't have thought that would be something that I'd be able to get produced within 5, 6, 7 years or something stupid like that. So it'll be quite a long thing. But in theory, I've got 10 years in this building, so I've got plenty of time to play with that. So that'd be the long term I'm looking at. And I've got about a dozen Corridora species that are sitting in the tanks growing out. So there's a few of them on the way. Adolphi is one of them that I'd like to play around with. Skunks are another one. What are you doing?
Don't ask. It's all good. Sorry.
And then I've got about another half a dozen of lines of guppies that I'm going to hopefully push through a little bit, and some platies, some nice platy lines pushing around as well. So a little bit of stuff going on. The keyholes spawned again on Boxing Day. They had eggs, but they've disappeared again. So I'm not quite sure what's going on. It's twice now they've produced eggs. Twice now they've eaten them. So we'll just keep working on that. But yeah, that's about it as far as breeding projects are. So yeah, don't too much. My priority is finishing the shop at the moment. So I need to get the last display tank sorted. So that's the shop done and the fish room part of the shop done. And then I need to get out the back through here done as well. They're my main priorities. Once the room is built within the room, then we can start planning. We're going to put tanks and stuff like that. Because at the moment I'm chock block. I don't have any room for any more fish, even if I wanted to. I bought another 5 glass boxes day before, just so I can put some more water in some places, so I can put some more fish that are going somewhere. That's just a bit of a mess at the moment. So the shop tanks are totally full, out the back's totally full, so I've got no room to put the ones that are ready to go out the front anyway, which means I need to work out a slightly different system on the way I think I'm ordering to try and maximise the amount of fish that we have available for people to walk into the shop as well as buy online. Just a little bit of a headache at the moment, but we'll work through that one. So at the moment, all the breeding projects are kind of just being held back at the moment, just sort of trying to wiggle enough room to hold them to let them grow out, as opposed to trying to breed them. Mm-hmm. The cockatoides have got no fry anymore, but I expected that to happen with the skunk corridors in there. That was always going to happen. They were always going to get picked off one by one, and I was okay with that. Again, I don't have any room at the moment. Once I've got some room, I'll be able to separate the skunks out and put them in their own tank, leave the apistogramma to themselves, and let them do their thing, and then we can properly work on them. But yeah, fry have been fed green water, microworms, BBS. As they got a little bit bigger, they were getting Rapashi Igapo Explorer. I was going to play around with Spawn and Grow, but I only had one container on the shelf, and I thought I'd probably better off to sell that as opposed to pick it off. And next time I do an order, I'll grab some Spawn and Grow. Speaking of someone that uses it, does a lot of breeding. He's had great results with the Spawn and Grow. Not only the mortality rate lowered, but the growth of the fry significantly increased. So that's a good sign. They're my main ones: green water, baby brine shrimp, microworms, and a little bit of Rapashi, whether it's powdered or whether it's in gel form already. So seems to do the job pretty well, or has been doing the job pretty well. Some guppies kicking around, some swordtail fry kicking around. I lost a lot of the whiptails. I think I just got a little bit too busy to put enough attention that I needed into them. But yeah, they'll spawn again, so we'll go from there. Have you just come to cause trouble again, Cameron? Am I going to have to ban you again? My haircut looks pretty. Leave me alone. So that's kind of where we're at as far as that goes. Not a heck of a lot going on, but it's quite a busy time of the year. And like I said, I'm pretty well chock-a-block when it comes to tank space. I've got plenty available floor space. I just don't have the glass boxes to put fish in at the moment, which is becoming an issue. So, we'll see how we go. So if anyone's got any aquariums they're looking to sell in Nelson, just standard glass boxes, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to buy some more because I need some more.
I've got half a dozen that you could probably have if you could ship them from the UK, but
something tells me that's not going to be economically feasible.
Yeah,
and I might even just be cheaper to buy glass in New Zealand and make
absolutely it. Yeah, I've actually just sold all the racking that was in the warehouse as well. I guess tomorrow. Yeah. So, all my aquariums are going out the door now as opposed to coming in the way, which sucks.
Yeah, it would do. Yeah. The glass tank that's going behind me, silicon arrived. Thank you very much, Cameron. Again, so today we're not open, but I'm going to be here, so I'm going to paint some aquariums to go for the bedders, and I might try and peel some more silicon off and clean it up a little bit more. So we're getting pretty close to that. Hopefully by the next few days I'll have that last end on, getting it closed off, getting it resealed, and then I can water test it sometime at some point. It arrived on Wednesday, I think, but I forgot to say thank you because I've been in different places. So thanks, buddy. I was very, very, very close to getting in a proper redneck mullet. My wife very clearly said to me multiple times, if you get a mullet, I'm going to divorce you. So I was very, very tempted to get a mullet. Not for the divorce, just because it was funny. But yeah, I decided not to. Yeah, the Blue Planet tanks used to be really, really good value. And they have gone up significantly. The other day I bought 6 glass lids to go on top of the plastic tubs for the plants, and the cost of the lids, just standard glass 4mm clear float with a little bit of edge work, so I didn't cut myself, cost more than if I went and bought 3, or maybe it was 4 plastic tubs with lids from Mitre 10 or Bunnings, wherever it was. It blew me away how expensive glass has gotten recently. So, it's just unfortunate. Glass is expensive. Even stuff that's been imported from China is really, really expensive at the moment as well. So, yeah. I haven't bought any of those Blue Planet ones for a while, so I couldn't tell you what the shipping is, but I suspect it would be. You'd have to buy a pallet's worth to get it chucked on freight for it to be worthwhile. Otherwise, they are, freight to the South Island's hideous regardless. And I'm not going to shave my head because I've got little grain waves on the top of my head, and that's something that nobody wants to see. I've shaved it once in my life, and I'm not going to be doing it again. Are you seeing a lot of people leave the hobby over in the UK?
Yeah, a lot of the big people, people that have had huge fish rooms because of the cost of energy. A lot of people are just wanting to shut their fish rooms down, or their huts and sheds. People you never thought would leave. It's a pattern that's been developing. A lot of big shops as well, sadly, haven't they, reduce their trade. But equally, there's still new shops opening up, and there's still a lot of new people coming in as well.
I think I followed a couple of shops that were saying that their power bill has become astronomical, just insane over the last year or so, and they're trying to work out ways to lower it and things like that. So, has the power in general skyrocketed over there, or just because they're a business use?
Home, my usage at home in gas has went 200% in the last 8 months.
Wow.
Yeah, and electric has probably went up about 80-90%.
Wow. What's caused that?
Now, you tell me. They claim that it's because of the Russia-Ukraine conflict.
Yeah.
But we are surrounded by oil fields in Britain, in the North Sea. We've got thousands of wind farms all over the country, in Scotland anyway. So we generate renewable energy constantly, but all the prices have just went up. It's a conspiracy. Yeah, they say it's because of low supply caused by Russia invading Ukraine, but I can't make the connection myself.
Yeah,
it makes no difference. But
I think you've made a really good point in this one, Rebecca. A lot of people buy lots of aquariums or a lot of aquariums in one go in the first couple of years, and then work out the workload is quite large, quite intense, and then drop out of it. And I think that's a real common thing. I also think a real common reason for people dropping out of keeping aquariums is almost set up to fail from some of the big companies that sell them what they need. Cartridges that need to be replaced and rebought every 6 to 8 weeks. Essentially, it's crashing a cycle every 6 to 8 weeks. Fish die, they get frustrated. People sell them plants that aren't aquarium-based, they're terrarium-based. They die, they have to go back buy more. Then it becomes an expensive hobby. I think there are a lot of contributors to why a lot of people get out quite quickly. They're being set up to fail with bad advice, bad marketing, because essentially the companies are marketing for people to buy that kind of stuff, and then being sold things that aren't actually aren't actually meant to be used in an aquarium, or unhealthy fish or what have you. So I think that's a massive contributor, because the hobby itself is very cylindrical. That's not even a word. People come in, people go all the time. Yeah. For as long as I've had fish, people have got in and people have got out. So for the hobby to maintain and to grow, you have to have more people staying in than what's getting out. And it's already perceived as an expensive hobby. Like, a lot of the question is, how much is an aquarium going to cost me to set up? It's got to be expensive. It's got a heater because we all think heaters are expensive. It's got these lights. Cyclical. Yep. Lights are expensive. LEDs aren't that expensive to run anymore. The pump's running 24 hours a day. That's got to be expensive. But it's not. Like, set up an aquarium, you might see a $5 spike on your power bill for one aquarium a month, maybe. It's not very much. And then so you've got to bust the fact that it's not expensive, but then if you're coming back to buy fish because your fish keep dying or your plants keep melting because of the wrong fish or what have you, then it just becomes a burden. And you don't burdening people. You want people enjoying what they're doing and experiencing what they're doing and allowing the tank to become this beautiful ecosystem, which fish keepers have been doing for a long time, love and enjoy. So, yeah, there's a few little things in that little aspect there that, I think is quite true with the going too big, too hard, realizing that the work is quite significant when you get that many and not doing it smart because you don't do any differently and then being set up to fail. I think that's part of the reason why a lot of people get out quite early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People that tend to jump in without doing research are the ones that fail quite quick. And because they don't understand where they went wrong, they walk a lot quicker than somebody that, they've researched, they failed, but they understand and then they take more research and learn from that. They're the ones that stay in it for life.
Yeah. I'm very much a firm believer that the companies that offer like a month guarantee on the fish that you buy, it's not because they care about their customers. It's that they know that their fish isn't very good. Their fish are going to die and people are going to come back. And when they come back, they sell them more stuff. So I'm 100% convinced that is a business ploy. That is not a duty of care for animals. That is not a duty of care for the hobby. And it's not about keeping people enjoying it and being in for longer. It's about milking as much people as they can for as long as they can.
Mm-hmm.
That's my own personal belief on 30-day guarantee on fish. Very similar to the filter pads as well. The in and out cartridges, same kind of thing. It's just milking the money for as long as they can. Right. Chat's been chatty. It's where we got going on here. Finding the right research, I could mention poor resources I want. This difficult management horticulture. Yeah, right research, another thing. From my studying days, I thought anybody can make a website and write what they want on a website. Doesn't mean it's true. It makes it's a lot more effort to write a book, publish a book, pay for that publishing of a book. Again, doesn't necessarily mean that the information on that is true. But I think it takes a lot more of that to go through that. So it's more likely to be a solid base. Not always true, but more of a solid base than what something can potentially be on the internet. And saying that there's some very good sources on the internet, there's some very good articles that are true as well. So yeah, it's a tough one. And we're in a hobby that everyone's built on first-hand experience and not often built on science.
Mm-hmm.
So like Jimmy can have green pen and blue pen. Everything says blue pen should not be living with green pen, but Jimmy's had no issues with blue and green pen living together for 3 years. Sally comes along, has green pen, blue pen within seconds. Can't do that. So like a lot of it's built on first-hand experience, and Jimmy's tank could be 3,000 litres, so there's never been an issue. Sally's tank might have been 37 litres, and so it's always like there's just so much variables in a lot of it, and it's all hobby-based and experience-based. It's so difficult.
That's what the value of having a good local fish club was. Because you go and you can speak to a lot of different people and get all their experience and normally, find the right kind of advice to suit your kind of aquarium.
Yeah.
And that's that.
But again, it's built on experience, and like there's a lot of old school keepers that say you don't need to do this, you don't need to do that, because 40 years ago it wasn't known to do this.
Yeah.
But now it's known to do this. Well, I've done this for so long I don't need to do it. Doesn't mean it's right nor is it wrong, but like
yeah.
bluefish should be lasting 15 years, but bluefish lasts 7 years. Well, I got a good run out of it. You could have got another 7 years out of it if you'd slightly changed it, if that makes sense.
If only Jimmy would learn.
Yeah, and Jimmy is just a made-up character, Cameron. Don't look into it too much. Same with Sally. Sally is just a made-up character. The first two names that came to my mind. Then there's Karen. She has every problem. Yeah, well, that happens as well. Mm-hmm. So it's just a really tough one, and it's tough, and I find it quite difficult when talking to people sometimes. So, in my experience and what I have done, I haven't had an issue with this, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you won't, or it doesn't necessarily mean that someone down the road hasn't. But this is what I've found works for me, and you say that to someone, and then they have an issue, and 4 minutes later they come down and say, "You said I'd be okay doing this," and I said, "Well, in my experience, I have been okay with this, but it doesn't always mean it's going to work, if that makes sense. There's lots of too much variables to be straight down the line every single time." Yeah, clubs are kind of dying off here in New Zealand. They're still running. They're still an overarching body, but they're definitely not the way that it used to be since the internet's taken over. And I think that is purely based on population per amount of fish keepers there are. I suspect there wouldn't even be 50,000 fish keepers in New Zealand. That's just my theory. I think we might even be pushing it at 20,000, maybe. Whereas I suspect there's probably more, which means there's more people interested in joining groups and being involved with it as well. That's great. Yeah. I sold a bidder to someone the other day, and so I never realised that the bidder was going to be so laid back. I thought it was going to be aggressive and attack everything. Some are good, some aren't. It just is what it is. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if there's a right or a wrong answer, but as a hobby or as an industry, we need to change. I know Cameron and I have spoken about this multiple times. It's an industry we need to do better, and that needs to start from retailers. It needs to start from importers. It needs to start from manufacturers, multi-million-dollar companies. Like, it just needs, the mindset needs to change. We're all in this together. The longer that people are in, the better the hobby's going to be.
Yeah.
The more enjoyment that we get out of it.
If we can shift away from people just seeing them as fish and seeing them just like you see their dog or their cat or any other animal, then I think more effort would be put into providing the correct care for them. Right back to point of sale. When you're handing over a first aquarium to somebody, making sure that they leave the shop knowing that they've got to come back in a few days once it's set up to get the next part, or doing it that way and just offering that hand of support right from the start, so that they don't feel building up the relationship with them, so they want to come back and keep coming back as a business, from a business perspective, and for their enjoyment, so that they become hobbyists and not just somebody that bought a fish tank and it died.
Yeah. I think the analogy of, fish or animals try and mimic it like a dog or a cat sort of thing changes a lot of people's minds.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was having a conversation on fish health the other day with a customer, and because he was trying to find some Metro, because we can't get that off the shelf. It's a vet-only product. And like we've all kind of said, it's stressful to bag up a fish, put it in a bag, take it to a vet for a vet to see it and say, cool, we can prescribe you some Metro. But it's also stressful for a dog or a cat to put them in a carrier, to put them in your car, to take them to the vet as well. But we do that with the dog with no questions.
Yeah.
My dog's, I'm going to take you to the vet and no worries. We don't deal with the fish because it's too stressful for the fish. It probably does increase the chance of death. I can accept that. But it's stressful for both animals, and we still happily do it with our furry ones to try and care for them properly. But we're not the same with our wet pets. it's an interesting mindset, and the shift needs to be made. I think somewhere along the line somehow.
I think the price of a fish comes into it as well, because they don't see value in it.
Oh, of course. A $2.50 neon teacher to a $700 disc, it's going to be a big difference. But people can spend $1,000 on a dog or get a free rehome dog, and they still love it and care for it in exactly the same way.
Well, that's true.
Because it's an animal and it's a pet, so is a fish.
There's a long way to go.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's, as a seller, it can be quite difficult. I had a customer come in, cool, so what sort of size is your tank? Well, it's about this, by about this, by about this, cool. So I had a look at some of the shop tanks we've got, so it's about that. Oh, no, it's smaller than that. So we've begun basing our work on a 65-litre tank from his rough sizing, but it was only a 30-litre tank. So people often, when they're new into the hobby, they don't quite know what's what. And I've got this red and blue fish. I think it's one of them, pointing at a neon, for example, and it's a German ram. There's a lot of that, so it can be quite hard to get that information out for a seller to then help that person along the journey as well. And then there's a lot of the people with the attitudes of, oh, it's just a fish, or I've got a 30-litre tank. What do you mean it's too small for another 15 bristle nose? You know what I mean? So it's just so many moving parts to it.
How do you deal with that when somebody comes in with a question about their tank? Do you kind of try and prompt them, if you've spoken to them online first, do you prompt them to bring photos in or a video or something so you can see?
Often people do bring in photos and videos, which is really, really helpful.
Yeah.
And that is a question I ask. Do you have any photos or videos to give me an idea? But I guess I work through my own sort of mind map in my mind of questions where I'm trying to get what I need, the information that I need to try and work out what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And it depends on how that conversation goes to where my mind map goes to the questions that I ask, whether or not, you've got 3 different corals, but there's three different species, or you've got a red-tailed shark in a 60-litre tank and you're wanting to put guppies in there. It really just sort of differentiates depending on where that sort of flows, and trying to get as much information. And I guarantee there's been times where I haven't asked the right question and I've said something to somebody on the information that I've got and not asking all the questions, and it's been wrong, because that's part of it sometimes when, you've got other hobbyists that are proper full-blooded hobbyists. They've got 30 tanks and know exactly what's in all of their tanks, and they know what they want to put into it, and it's just a question of, oh, can you please tell me a little bit more about the green neons? Cool, I can put them in with XX, good to go. That's all they needed to know. So it's a real, it's can be quite difficult sometimes.
And that's something, I guess, you'll find a way. The longer you're in trade, the easier that becomes, I suppose, to some extent, because you'll get to you'll identify the right kind of questions to ask, and obviously judging by the reaction and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's something that I want to actually put on paper for staff. Someone comes in asking said question about setting up a new tank. Someone comes in looking for an algae eating or an algae issue. So these are some prompt questions you can ask to try and work through where they might be heading or what they're trying to get through, sort of thing. Yeah. But there's so many questions, and where do you start with that? But again, but it's all experience based, and my experience to staff's experience to Shelley's experience to Helen's experience to Rebecca's experience, they're all different, and our knowledge base is all completely different, and we're all coming from a completely different ideology from each other. There's some people that want super sparkly, pristine, hygienic, clear tanks, and that's cool if that works for you, and you want to put that effort in every other day doing massive water change and massive algae cleans. Good for you. And there's other people that want to take their hands off it and not do very many water changes and just clean the front of their tank. So there's lots of thoughts in there.
Come on then,
You can
Cam.
fire away, Cam. You're more than welcome for your unpopular opinion. Bring it on. Yeah, that's one. What eats poop? What will clean my tank? That's one that comes up a lot. So yeah, it just is what will do the work for me. There's no real super option other than doing the work yourself or setting up good filtration that brings all the poop into the filter, but you've still got to clean it out. You've still got to do it. One of the questions I ask people is, how hands-on do you want to be? Do you want to be in there every other day, or do you want to be not having your hands wet very often? If you want to be in there every other day, then lots of stem plants and bright lights and that sort of thing is good. If you want to relax a little bit more, then things like cryptocorynes work better because you don't have to trim as much. Obviously, we're talking about the plant world here, but that's another question that I ask: how on do you want to be with your aquarium keeping? Totally agree. Yep. I keep the shop tanks totally different to the tanks that I keep out the back because I don't think anyone wants to buy fish that are looking from a grungy, horrible, gross-looking place. But I'm quite happy to keep them not super pristine as long as the water is in good condition. Little bits of algae here and there for the guppies to pick off and stuff like that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's fine. Just builds a nice wee ecosystem, which is a huge thing as well. Nice mature tank. You're building a nice ecosystem. You're not putting too much in. It's a closed loop, and away you go.
So, coming at the end of this year, then, Cam, is there a trend that you've noticed over the year, the past 12 months, with customers coming in and asking for certain things or asking certain questions? Is there something that you've noticed that's got worse or better, or?
I can't really think of a trend per se on questions that's being asked. Definitely noticed a trend of fish that people are asking for, but I haven't really noticed a trend of common issues other than I've got algae, I've got a milky tank, why are my nitrates so high, what do I do, like all your standard stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, haven't really noticed a trend of people having issues or anything like that, or a common theme. Maybe if I wrote them down, it might be completely different, and there might actually be a massive variable scale. I've only had this question once, but I've had this question 50 times. I haven't even realised. So, yeah.
And you mentioned fish there. Like, has there been a change in the kind of fish that people are asking for?
Yeah, there has. I think there is a bit of a push towards African cichlids, and I think Cameron's responsible significantly for that.
Okay.
And on the flip side of that, I think there's a push towards smaller fish and smaller aquariums, and I think that's probably a mindset of the money side of it, but also they take up less room.
There's more smaller nano tanks on the market now than there ever has been as well.
Yeah. New Zealand's lacking behind a little bit, but there's a place down in Christchurch that's just set up for aquascaping, and they've got some nice smaller tanks coming through as well. So, I think that's quite a common one, the smaller one. I think there is a push towards aquascaping. I don't think there's a push completely towards that really high-end aquascaping that when, like I say aquascaping, I think of these incredibly manicured aquariums. But I think there is a lot of people talking about aquatic plants and the bonuses and the benefits of having them, and people trying to set up more tanks with aquatic plants.
Yeah, more purpose about it as opposed to just chucking in live plants and leaving them.
Yeah, and they're disposable. They're right. You go buy a new one. It's more they should be keeping alive. And I think, when it comes to the aquascaping, I think there's a little bit too much elitist on this prime and pristine manicured thing. Don't get me wrong. I think they're beautiful. They take a lot of time and effort, and great work anyone that does it. But there's a lot of people that want to give a go at aquascaping, and they just want to play around with a few mouse ears and some Vallisneria, a wee rock formation and some wood. And they're happy with the tank that they have in their house that they look at every day. And so what's the most important thing in this hobby? Having fun and enjoying what you're doing.
Yeah.
And if it's in your house and you like it, why does it matter?
It's a winner.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
just missed a few questions here. See a tank, I think fish are cool. That's a puppy and investment of time. Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. I actually think having one fish tank is less effort than a dog. That is something that I say to many people. You'll have more time, more effort, more money buying a dog than what you will having a fish tank, and that changes people's lot of mind, thinking there's a lot of work in them. But definitely think that having one aquarium is far less work than keeping a dog.
I think with aquascaping, you've got to separate a planted tank from an aquascape. They are different. For most people, 80% of people with aquarium plants in their tank, 80% of us have a planted tank. Would you agree? And there's that small 20% that their focus is the plants themselves and the layout, and fish come secondary to that. And they're two different hobbies.
I think you could probably skew those numbers probably higher towards 90-10 or even probably higher than that.
Yeah,
I don't think that, I don't think you're incorrect in saying that. I think that's fair. They're two different aspects of the hobby, and again, the people that do that, they put some time, some effort, some phenomenal work, but it's not for everybody. And I don't think people beat themselves up a little bit too much because they're not getting the results that they see on these Instagram photos of all these beautiful fish tanks, and forget that these people have put thousands of hours, thousands of dollars, lots of research into
them. A lot of these guys, I speak to them like quite a lot, and the ones that are entering the competitions, they are doing daily maintenance, daily trimming of the plants. They're running like high-end CO2, $1,000 lights, and they're dosing their tanks every day. They're doing water changes on a daily basis. It's not for somebody that's just wanting a nice looking tank. This is it's more intense than gardening itself.
Yeah, but I bet there's plenty of gardeners out there that put just that much effort into their gardens as well.
Yeah, well, that's that. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that. But it's too much work for me anyway.
I agree. There's lots of things that have changed. Even in the time that I've been keeping fish, lots of things have changed. But there's still things that work. Right? Box filters work. Air filters work. Depends on the magnitude of what you want to do. I'm not so keen on having an air pump running in my lounge that's ridiculously noisy running a bubble filter, but I'm quite happy to have an internal filter, but they both work. So, this might be a bit of a contentious question that we have from Cameron. It's not like him to do things like that. So what do I think of the recent talk about the plants that have come in questionable ways in relation to the aquascaping buzz? I think if they've come in legitimately, that is fantastic for our hobby. I do believe that there is it's not a loophole, I need to stop saying the word loophole, but there is a part of the legislation that when it comes to tissue culture that you can bring a lot of plants in. So fingers crossed that these plants that have come in correct ways, hopefully via the tissue culture way, so it's all legitimate and there's no issues there. So I know that there is a way around this because one of my customers does tissue culture of garden plants for a job, and he was saying, yep, we can make this work. There is ways that you can bring in aquatic plants under tissue culture. There is a list of aquatic plants that can be brought in, etc., etc., etc. However, if these have been brought in via people's pockets, illegally imported, all that kind of stuff, I'm not so down for it. It's kind of great that we may have some cool new plants coming onto the market, but it's also not kind of great that people are outrightly breaking the law, particularly ones that are meant to be legitimate businesses, if that makes sense. I don't think that's okay. That's just my 2 cents on it. We have laws and legislation in New Zealand for a reason. We've spoken about it before with the fish. It goes exactly the same when it comes to the plants. Although I struggle to believe there'll be a lot of tropical plants that will grow in cold water. Some will maintain. I know that for a fact because I've grown tropical plants in cold water, no dramas. A lot of them will not handle overwintering, at least in Nelson. It doesn't mean they won't handle it up in the North Island where it's warmer. So that's kind of where my mind is when it comes to this current talk of all these fancy new plants that have come in. I very tightly have my fingers crossed they've come in from legitimate ways.
You've got to remember as well, a lot of the plants that come in, well, all plants that come in through tissue culture have been grown outside the water. They could quite easily grow above water.
Yep.
In a damp area.
But that's where the loop is, or the potential chance of bringing these plants in via tissue culture, because it's legitimate. The tissue culture, they are parasite free, they're pest free. Like they can come in as long as they're on these lists. Fingers crossed that is how that's happened. I'm also questioning. I haven't seen them, so who knows if they're actually here? It might be particular people just talking things up to try and get a bit of buzz going on. I don't know, but hopefully, if it's here, it's all legitimate and above board, because that'd be fantastic. Thanks, Cameron. You made me sweat from that one. What else we got? My plants are horrible. Fish are awesome. 100%. Absolutely. I like the Blackwater aquascape personally myself. Still a gorgeous aquascape. Still got some plants scattered around the place, but it doesn't have to be totally groomed for it to look fantastic. That's just me. Yep. That's very true. They're set up just for X amount of months leading into whatever event they're showing for, and then that's it. Longevity of the fish. I often question I think one of the criteria is for it to be set up as far as it goes with nature or how the fish would live or something like that. And you look at some of these habitats, you go, well, I'm pretty sure the fish wouldn't be living in that anywhere in the world. Cool tank, but I don't think that's quite legitimate. But yeah. And yes, Cameron, duckweed will grow outside. You're right. I'm actually struggling to grow my duckweed outside at the moment. It's been covered in blanket algae, and I cannot get rid of it. The Azola's going just fine, but the duckweed right beside it is just being covered in a horrible algae, but it is what it is. And we must confirm that when the fish room said that my first 2 tanks had underground filters, that was John, not me, controlling the chat. My first filters were internal filters when I had a turtle, from memory.
Yeah. Under gravel. My first 2 was under gravel, which worked very well. But I cracked and I never ever replaced it. So I decided just best going with a canister instead.
I've read a few reports of under gravel filters being really good for breeding cootie loaches. Because the fry just drop down and away they go. Yeah. I don't know if they're actually brought into New Zealand anymore. The one supply that did have them doesn't have them anymore, so I'm not sure if they're still hanging around or not. Cameron seems to be able to find weird and wonderful ways to picking up weird and wonderful old school technology like under gravel filters and box filters, so he might know something a bit more.
Yeah. Hold on 2 seconds.
Yeah, mate, you're right. They have made a bit of a comeback. Yeah, one of my customers absolutely loves them. She was really disappointed that I couldn't find her any. And then she was really, really excited when I told her that the rival pet shop down the road had a whole bunch on sale. And so she went there and bought a whole bunch of them. So, kind of having a comeback. Again, they're like a sponge filter or a box filter. They do the job. They do the job just fine. If you're not worried about, if you're not the sort of person who wants to dig up their plants all the time and that kind of stuff, they'll do just fine. No, thank you, Cam. I don't think I want under gravel filters, but thanks for the offer. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, actually, in saying that, I was thinking about toying around playing with one not long ago. If you don't understand it, you don't understand it. What sort of filtration were you using when you first started? Were you going with the the corner box filter, I'm assuming, if that was the case. Are you all good, John, or do you need to shoot off?
No, I'm good.
Cool.
Yeah, just kids being kids.
Yep, I totally understand that.
Yeah, no, they're fine.
Cool.
So, how long have you had fish tanks for then, Cam?
What's that, sorry?
How long have you had fish tanks?
15 years.
Right.
Something in that kind of mark, I think.
And how did you get started?
I got given a turtle.
Really?
Yeah, a friend of mine rescued a turtle that was being neglected and living in a bucket.
Right.
He also had a turtle, and he's like, "Look, I can't have this. I'm taking it with me." He didn't want to put it with his one. He had a snake neck, and it was a red ear. So he said, "Hey, get a tank. You can have it." Mm-hmm. So you got the tank, and then he gave me a couple crebensis. I think it was crebensis for food for it. But the turtle itself had been so neglected it couldn't chase them or anything like that. So I had a couple crebensis in the turtle tank, and then a lady down the road had a bit of misinformation from one of the local pet shops. They bought some guppies to go into their fish bowl, mm-hmm. and didn't realise till afterwards that it needed tropical water. And so I had a tropical tank with the turtles, so we put them in there. And then all of a sudden, I had another tank, and I put some guppies in there, and I had another tank, and I put something else in there, and I had another tank, and put some African cichlids in there, and all of a sudden, I'm here now. Just like that.
Just like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was about 12 when my dad got his first tank, just a normal community tank. And then he ended up getting another 2 for the living room and then 2 upstairs. And he bred just some convict cichlids, 7 of them, cribs as well. Crebensis was one. And then when I moved out in 19, and I got my first tank then in my own house. And I've had tanks ever since.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
How long does that take? About 22 years I've had my own tanks. Yeah.
Your kids have got tanks as well, eh?
Yeah. My daughter, she's got a small, it's like 50-litre thing on her desk in her bedroom. That's the only one that we've got at home at the moment. But I'm about to set up a paludarium. Mm-hmm. Type thing for my other daughter, which is going to sit pretty much there, and that'll come up to about here. And it's about just as wide as that, with about that much water at the bottom, and then it comes up to about there. So something different.
Yeah, neat. Yeah, thought about doing that with I've got the dual tank in my lounge. Consider doing something similar to that as well.
Yeah.
Still haven't worked out what I'm going to do with that tank yet. Mm-hmm. Group of plecos crossed my mind yesterday.
Zebras?
I don't know. Not sure.
I'm picking up fish. Told you I'm setting up one of the tanks that I've got. I'm moving it through my oldest daughter's apartment. Yeah, I'm doing that at the weekend, and I'm picking up some pea puffers for tomorrow or Saturday. Sorry.
Yeah.
Do you get them over there?
Yeah.
I'm picking up a group of 10.
They're pretty well priced compared to some other places in the world. I think we retail them at $20 each.
Yeah, about £7 or £8 here, so that's probably about right. I'm paying £30 for 10 of them, but I'm buying them off a hobbyist. So
I think they're about $500. No, they're more than $500 a pop over in Australia. They are phenomenally expensive.
That's insane.
Yeah. There's not a lot of people with them, and I've seen a couple of videos of shops that have bought groups to keep them, to try and spawn them and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's not a fish that I personally kept, but one I've definitely considered keeping.
Yeah, I think for what I'm wanting to do in this tank, I've got a nice chunky bit of wood that will fit in the middle of the tank, and it'll leave about maybe 4 or 5 inches right the way around. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to fill the bit of wood's hollow, so it's like a trunk, and I'm going to fill that with substrate, and I'm going to put blackworms in there, and let the blackworms, because they'll come out through the wood, and that'll keep the murder beans busy.
Murder beans are cool.
Yeah.
It would be cool if we get some archers. One of the suppliers to bring some archers in, or tried to bring some in about middle of this year, and they went south really quickly, unfortunately, so they didn't hit the market. But there was some archers that were attempted to bring in about 6 months ago. They are a very cool fish. Very, very cool fish. Not sure if I could keep up with producing enough insects to feed them, however, but they are a very cool fish.
Yeah, they're amazing to watch if they're in the right kind of environment. Really, really cool.
That's a neat story on how someone got them. I always wonder how people stumble across different things, particularly on YouTube, when you're completely away from that. Like, how does YouTube just all of a sudden say, hey, let's show Glenn some videos on aquascaping, as an example, or let's show John some videos on coin collecting, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're a little bit interested in it, a little bit further. Oh yeah, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. And away you go. The algorithm reads your mind.
It does.
Can't read my mind, buddy. I wear a tinfoil hat. Yeah, I sometimes try and see my YouTube on random goose chases, and Facebook for that matter as well. I'll just look up random things, different clubs, different hobbies, and that kind of stuff. Often it's because I'm trying to work out what things I can adapt and bring into our hobby. So I just try and work out different things and stuff like that to see if I can find different avenues. But it doesn't take long for that to disappear on YouTube and Facebook, and it goes straight back to fish.
Yeah. Just try talking about something whilst your phone's open, and then you'll soon start getting some crazy stuff popping up.
Take the tinfoil hat off. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It's good advertisers knowing what they're doing.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
It's cold.
It's cold, did you say?
It's cold. It's all coding.
Oh, right. It's cold. No, it's not. It's ridiculously warm in here right now.
Yeah, it's boiling in this room as well. I've got the door closed and the heating must be on. So it's like I'm trapped in this room and it's like roasting hot.
So I guess when I brought up then other hobbies, what other hobbies are people interested in and involved in? Like I said, I'm not in a lot of other hobbies, 2 or 3, but they normally started from me trying to find different ideas that I can adapt for the aquarium hobby, as far as running a business goes, and promotions and ideas. And they do that. I wonder if we could do that. Blah blah blah. So yeah, what other hobbies are you guys all involved in? What do you spend your spare time doing if it's not keeping fish? I
don't really have time for anything else.
Yeah.
Personally, working and family stuff, and that's about me. And obviously a bit of fish keeping.
Yeah. The other 2 hobbies, 3 hobbies that I'm involved in. One is barbecuing, which I stopped doing when I turned vegan for a while. But I also collect silver and rugby league cards. Now, the irony behind both the silver and the rugby league cards is they end up being stuffed in my wardrobe. So I'll buy it. I'll open the bag when I get it. I'll look, that's cool, and put it in my wardrobe and never look at it again. So it's a very non-hands-on hobby, unlike a fish tank where you need to do some work for it every now and then. So, yeah. Terrestrial gardening, I can't do that. I just can't do terrestrial gardening. I don't have a green thumb in my body if it's not wet.
What is the link to cricket then, Cam?
What cricket do you want to watch, buddy? You want to watch the New Zealand game, which doesn't start for another 7 hours?
And I'm just sorry.
I'm a little bit confused on what Cam's saying here. The link to fish to cricket. I'm confused. You might need to clarify that a little bit.
I honestly thought he was asking what your link to cricket was, as in, like, how do you like cricket?
Oh, if that's what he's asking, I started playing cricket when I was 4, and I haven't stopped since. Uncles played cricket. I played cricket. Away we went.
And that's it.
Yeah. What sort of horses? That's a really broad question, I know. Are they like racing horses or like the dancing horses? That's not the right word. Is equestrian, right? Or like trekking horses, or just keeping horses as pets to love, sort of thing? This is our longest ever stream.
I know. An hour 20. Wow.
Breeding and riding. Cool. I'm wondering if Cam wants to get a miniature horse so it makes him look like a giant.
You could, if he does, you could give him that little cup that you've got, and he could drink that whilst he's on his miniature horse.
You feel like a real king.
Yeah.
Yeah, how good was Kane's double century? It was well battered. Yeah, I think the game's pretty well poised. I can definitely see us getting the 8 wickets we need and having a small total to chase down and win the game today. And for the people that were complaining, thinking they were batting for the draw, that's absolutely not what was happening. They were batting to set the day up today and trusting that their bowlers can take the 10 wickets that they need. But that was a brilliant innings. You got to feel a little bit for Devon Conway scoring 90 odd and not quite getting there. I think so. Like Jack Russell, small but huge personalities. Look at that, learning about horses. I never thought I'd learn about horses. Cool. I always find it really interesting, or enjoy finding out what other fish keepers like to do in their spare time and stuff like that. Like, so obviously we'll know each other from just keeping fish, but what other interests do people have and what do they do and that sort of stuff? It's always find it really interesting.
One of the most abstract ones that I've come across is what a guest that we've had on the show on before, Rocky. He actually collects crystals.
Yeah, I know. I've seen them post about that.
Big crystals as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I never would have thought that crystals would be his jam.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. That's pretty neat. So I'm saying we've actually, you brought that up. We've had quite a few good guests on this year.
We have, yeah. I'm looking forward to lining up the guests for next year as well, though.
Yeah. I'm going to start on that as soon as we get back into the new year. So, again, probably aiming to start that in February. As soon as we're through this week, and basically on the 9th onwards, because people are kind of back to work, begin breaching those conversations with people and seeing where we can go. Yeah. I also enjoy darts, and I think it's fantastic that the darts are on at this time of the year, in the morning time, which is fantastic.
Oh, of course, yeah, because it's more in Europe, isn't it? And you catch it at our night time. It'll be your morning,
Yeah. So it means like the final, everything is on mid morning for us, which is great. It's a great time of the year for watching darts because it's perfect time. Everyone's on holiday and
it keeps you clean as well. Over here, when people go to watch the darts, it's like going to the pub.
Yeah, I bet.
He gets fancy dress and gets up really drunk, and it's a night out for them as well. So
yeah, it looks like a fun time.
It does. I've never been. My sister's been a couple of times actually, and they have a ball. They really do.
Yeah. It must be for some people. It must be like just being at the pub. I'm assuming a lot of darts players would start from throwing darts in the backyard or throwing darts in a pub or whatever, and it just sort of a pub sport that's got massive.
The amateur league sports is pub darts. You'll have a pub will have a darts team, and that will go against other pubs, and that's how leagues are formed over here.
Yeah, wow, cool.
Yeah,
neat.
I know.
Yeah, we can have you on at some point again, Cam. You've got to bring something decent to the table. Don't know what you're going to bring, but we'll work something out.
A miniature horse.
Bring a miniature horse on. That'd be great. Anytime you want to bring a miniature horse on camera, and we will have you on.
Mm-hmm.
Might line you up for March or April or something like that. Give you a bit of time to prepare.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, you tell me enough about them every day. I don't know if everyone else needs to hear about them. Plastic. He will bring a plastic one. He loves his ornaments.
Yeah.
Yeah. And saying that, yesterday I had a customer come in and they wanted to design a sand waterfall in their fish tank.
Oh, yeah.
Which I've never done because it's not really something that interests me that much. But I've seen a few videos on how it's done. And I just happened to have an ornament sitting in the back, just behind the counter. And I said, one of these would be perfect if you drill a hole in here and put some intake pipe and away you go. So maybe there is a place for ornaments, just probably not.
For that.
Although the rock ornaments that Cam has had recently are absolutely stunning. They're on I think from memory, they're on a resin or a like a slate base, and they're going vertically upwards. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, really cool. You can keep your bubble crocodile, buddy. Nobody wants a bubble crocodile. Yeah. So we've been about an hour and a half. If we want to continue to sit here and talk smack, we can. Otherwise, if people have got other things to do in their day on a Friday, we can disappear as well. I'm not opening the shop today, so I'm quite happy to be sitting around. We will be starting these videos earlier as of next year. I think it probably makes sense to do our first one, which will be next Friday at our earlier time. I guess that makes sense to start them at our normal time. At our new time for the start of the year. Makes sense to you?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Cool. So next week when we do our video, we'll be starting at 9 a.m., not 10 a.m. That, again, just allows us to go a little bit longer if we need to. But also mainly when we've had guests on, it's always felt like we could have continued talking. So I don't want to rip the people off that are watching. I don't want to shortchange the people that have come and given up their time if they want to continue to tell their stories. So we'll kick off a bit earlier. It gives us a bit more time to wiggle around if we want to take extra time. Yeah,
I think it's better. Yeah, we've not got anybody lined up yet, have we?
No. Like I said, we'll start that. I'll start building those conversations again with people. I've got a couple of people that said they'll be interested in doing it. We just need to confirm times and dates in particular for them. But because it's the Christmas holiday season, I just thought I'd leave it with that, and we'll get into that next week or the week after, pretty much, and sorting out some time for some people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is there any topics? Is there any topics that maybe people that are watching would want us to dive into? Anything that particular subjects that we should get guests on to talk about, or anything like that? Yeah,
that's a good question. If there is things that people want to talk about, or particular people that people want us to try and get on, feel free to fire through some ideas, Facebook Messenger, email, even on this chat, that's fine. I'm more than happy to breach the conversation with anybody if there's someone that wants to, someone you want to hear from or learn about or what have you. I'm more than happy to try and ask that person and see how we go. He has not, but I'm more than happy to write that down and see what we can do.
Yeah.
It's always the no guarantees scenario, but again, I'm more than happy to contact these people and see if they are interested in having a chat with us. And people having a chat with him and asking some questions. So,
All of his photos are fantastic.
Every
single one that he puts up is amazing.
Aren't they?
Yeah. He does a lot of underwater photography, and they're just mind blowing.
Yeah. There's a big subworld of aquarium keepers, river explorers, fish breeders, it's a huge subworld. So like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's obviously YouTube creators. There's people that just do work on Instagram. There's people just explore riverways. There's people that do research and only like. There's so many avenues for guests to come on that can be go through.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost endless. If we've got some names and got some people in it, it's absolutely endless. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to shoot off, Cam. I can hear the kids getting a bit crazy at the back there.
Yeah, that's cool.
But
It's been an hour and a half. It's probably a fair time to call it quits anyway.
Yeah, quite possibly. But
thank you everybody for joining us. I hope you all have a good New Year in a couple of days' time. Be safe. Don't do anything stupid. Don't say anything abstract on Facebook, or you might go to Facebook jail for a few days. If you are drinking or doing any sort of substances, don't be an idiot and don't drive. Other than that, have a good time, and we'll see you next year.
Yep. Happy New Year, guys, when it comes.
Have a good one, team. Happy fish, Kevin. Catch you later.
Right. Bye.
See ya.